Hey guys, this is just a quick video to talk about another golf game, and today I'm going to talk about Intellivision Lives on the GameCube and the golf game on Intellivision, and not the original one from 1980 because that's kind of a stinker and it's more in line with those first generation golf games that were really clunky, like Golf on the Atari 2600. But in 1987, they released a golf game called Chip Shot Super Pro Golf. And evidently, this golf game had been in development for a couple of years, and it's more in line with like a second generation type golf game. And beyond that, if you think of second generation type golf games, kind of like golf on the NES, this actually has a lot of great features, and I think there's only one thing that spoils the whole game for me. So, at first, it's not the three click method, it's the click, hold, and then release, and then click. So, that got me at first, but I mean, you get used to that right away. So, what I really like about this game, and let's talk about the strong points. And I think at the by the end you'll be like, okay, I understand why it's not great. But again, there's by this point in time, you're still maybe talking about only 10 golf games that have been released. Maybe there's some quirky oddball ones that went, straight to floppy disks and Ziploc bags and stuff like that. But they don't compare to something like this that's mostly a high polished game. So here's also your distances, which makes it a lot easier. If you look at the 3 iron, you're right around 200 yards. So if you just think of that, and they made it pretty easy, everything's 10 yards within that. So you just can calculate back upwards or backwards from a 3 iron, and then just recall that your driver's got 300 yards, and then 260 for a 3 wood. Now, this game has several courses, plus the ability to build your own course. If you notice down in that lower left-hand corner, you see it says number 29. So this is hole number 29. And you can build, I think there's like 90 holes, somewhere around there. You can build your own course out of this, which is fantastic. But just to play the ones that are pre-built in there, it's super fun. But I mean, that was thinking way ahead, and the layouts are nice. There's a lot of variety in here, and I'm sure you could make it similar to one of your favorite courses on the PGA Tour or something. If you looked around enough, you get it very similar. Another thing that's nice about this is you look at you've got water, you've got sand traps, you've got the rough. There's a slight variety in the tree styles. So for an Intellivision, I mean, you're talking about a system that is, pushing a decade old now by the time this came out. And it's a really good follow up game, even though it took so long to come out. Um, but then we get to the point of where I think the toughest part of the game is the putting. And it's not so much that you've got a couple of different types of greens. Some have a slope, some have a heavier slope, and that's about it. And they show you nicely with the markers which way the ball is going to go. Now, the problem comes in when you need to putt and you're trying to compensate for the slope, you don't get fine tuning on your crosshairs for aiming. I kind of calculated that there's like 8, 16, 32 different angles you can use. And that works out to about 11 point some degrees. And that's pretty wide. And I think if they would have just doubled that or somehow just smoothed it out to track a little better. And maybe there's something just in the way it was programmed that they couldn't do that. I mean, the way it has to do calculations, maybe the amount of memory. So I hate to knock it on that, but that's what stops this game from being a great game to just being a really good game because there's so much going for it. The other thing is I learned that when you're driving or hitting your irons, if you overhit beyond that very when your slider's going to the left and you see that last little notch that's green on the left side, if you go beyond that, you're essentially not giving full power. You're more doing like half power. It's like a misstrike. So I don't know why they felt like they had to add that in. So looking at this, it's a little hard to line things up, but if you play holes a few times, you get used to it. And it doesn't really have an overblown hook or slice. So if you're not able to quite line things up perfectly, you can hit a little late or a little early. If you hit late, it'll go right. So it'll, what's that? That's a slice. And if you hit early, it'll hook. So the good thing about that is even though you don't have as many fine tunes in the angles you're playing, you can still compensate because the hook and slice aren't very aggressive. They don't overreact. So you're able to compensate, I won't say easily, but you can get used to it until you're dealing with the putting. It's just a high learning curve for the putting. And I hate to knock the game for that because, you want something that's a fine balance of difficulty, but being able to improve on that with improving your accuracy and learning the course. And I feel like the putting is the only thing that holds that back. Having said that, I'm showing my third round. And when I'm done, I'll just let it play through if anyone wants to watch the whole playthrough. But my very first round, I shot about double over par, 140. My second round was 20 shots less, somewhere in the 120, low 120s. And this round, only my third round, I break 100. So I can already see that I'm improving. And the biggest factor in my improvements is going to be putting. And there are just some times where I don't feel like I'm going to calculate the putts easily because you know how it is when you're on top or on the bottom. You're reversing whether or not you've got to use hook or slice. And when you're also talking about not just wind, but especially on the putting greens, when you're talking about the slope and you're trying to calculate all that, it slows down the gameplay. You can do it, but it slows down the gameplay. But if you're putting and you're within like a foot or so, it's so difficult to react to say I want to hit it short and then say I need to have it go to the left because you're hitting it short already and it's almost like you got to tap the button so fast. And then if you have to do that and hit it late, so it makes it very difficult. It could have all been alleviated by having a better ability to fine tune your crosshairs on the putting green at least. When you think about this, it's a very, very good game on an outdated console. I mean, it's incredible, if you ask me. Looking back at some of these old games, though, you're in the era of now you have NES Golf. You've got other games like Leaderboard Golf out on PC, Mean 18, World Tour Golf, which most of those came the year before. But computers were expensive. Not everyone had computers, but some people did still have Intellivisions. And this was a really good option. Now, I'm also planning on looking at a golf game that I just recently discovered while doing research. And that's by HAL Laboratories. And this is a game that came out in 1984, so several years earlier. And it's pretty much the precursor to golf on the NES. And I actually think it plays better, and it plays better than this golf game. But the one strong suit of this version of golf on the Intellivision is the variety it has. I don't know if any other golf game had the amount of holes available to play or reconfigure that this had. And I also do want to say that the the swing meter feels very good. It's not hard to lock onto a good swing, and there's a lot of games where the swing meter moves way too fast, and this only suffers from that like most golf games when you have to do very short chips or short putts until golf games started developing a putt meter that would change depending on your distance. So you'd have like you could do a 5 foot putt max or 10 foot putt max, and that was still a few years away. What it really comes down to is this was a great game for back then, all things considered. Am I going to tell you to go out of your way to look for it and play it? Well, only if you're one of those PC or video game golfers that just likes discovering the feel of a different golf game, where you just like the challenge of trying to conquer something that's a different style that you're used to. And if that's you, definitely play this, because I was mostly impressed with what they were able to do on Intellivision by 1987. So I'm going to just let the rest of the game play out, and I just wanted to thank you all for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this. I'll be back again with some more gameplay, some more golf games, and again, thanks for watching, and so long.